what truly unfolded the night Jungkook and Taehyung ended their much-anticipated live broadcast, a moment that had millions of armies across the globe glued to their screens. What started as a warm, exciting interaction quickly evolved into one of the most mysterious and hotly debated episodes in BTS history. The live itself felt ordinary, comforting, and filled with the natural charm that both idols are known for. Yet what occurred after the cameras stopped rolling became the spark of a storm so powerful that it shook the fandom to its core. At first, there was no reason to believe anything unusual had happened. Fans signed off thinking they had witnessed another heartfelt interaction between two of BTS's most beloved members. But whispers began circulating soon after the stream ended. Eyewitness accounts, digital traces, and unverified fragments spread like wildfire across global platforms, suggesting that something extraordinary had happened between Jungkook and Taehyung once the live was over. Suddenly, what fans thought was a simple routine broadcast turned into the center of worldwide speculation. Jungkook and Taehyung, two figures admired not just for their artistry, but for their deep bond, were thrust into the spotlight of controversy. This wasn't just another moment in the lives of global superstars. It became a catalyst for emotional debates, countless theories, and an avalanche of unanswered questions that left ARMY restless and divided. Across continents, fans began dissecting every second of the live. Was there a hidden signal in Jungkook's subtle glances? Was there tension in Taehyung's tone that no one noticed at first? Entire communities replayed and slowed down clips, analyzing pauses, smiles, and hand movements for hidden meaning. The search for answers became a collective mission, with armies piecing together timelines and comparing notes as though they were solving a global mystery. But the real shock arrived when reports claimed Jungkook and Taehyung did not part ways quietly after the cameras stopped. Instead, the two were allegedly caught in an exchange that was intense, emotional, and startlingly different from their usual composed public image. Witnesses described the atmosphere as heavy, charged with emotions that couldn't be dismissed as simple exhaustion. Jungkook, they said, appeared visibly unsettled. Taehyung, usually the picture of calm charisma, carried expressions that suggested something deeper was at play. Observers insisted this was no performance. This wasn't staged for fans. This was raw, unfiltered reality, and it stunned even the most loyal supporters. Was this a private disagreement that accidentally spilled into the open? Or was it the beginning of a much larger revelation about struggles within BTS that had been hidden for years? The lack of clarity only fueled speculation further. Soon, accounts began to surface, claiming that raised voices were heard near the studio, followed by a silence that felt almost unbearable. Whether those reports were accurate or exaggerated didn't matter. The idea alone ignited imaginations. Could Jungkook and Taehyung have reached a breaking point under the relentless pressures of fame? Or was it something far more personal, far more complicated, than outsiders could ever understand? Within minutes, social media platforms were ablaze. Hashtags trended worldwide. Debates broke out between fans, some convinced they had witnessed a fracture in the unshakable bond of BTS, others insisting this was all overblown speculation. Analysts within the entertainment industry weighed in, warning that such moments, real or imagined, always leave a permanent impact. After all, Jungkook and Taehyung weren't just idols. They were symbols of unity, brotherhood, and resilience. If even they could falter, what would it mean for BTS's legacy? The emotional weight of the incident was undeniable. Fans reported sleepless nights, waves of anxiety, and an almost desperate need for answers. Global media outlets picked up the story, amplifying the tension with every headline. Each new piece of so-called evidence, whether verified or not, added fuel to an already blazing fire. What haunted ARMY most was not simply what was seen, but what was left unseen. Why did Jungkook appear shaken? Why did Taehyung's demeanor shift so suddenly? Were they grappling with personal struggles, creative disagreements, or the suffocating demands of their public roles? With no official clarification, the unanswered questions multiplied. Experts argued that this incident would be studied for years, not just as a rumor, but as a reflection of how deeply BTS is intertwined with its audience. Even the faintest hint of fracture feels like an earthquake when witnessed by millions. And in this case, the contrast was simply too sharp. One moment, a warm broadcast connecting idols to their fans. The next, an atmosphere of raw tension. The emotional whiplash was unbearable. In the days that followed, fans clung to theories. Some believed there had been subtle hints of strain all along, tiny signs of pressure beneath the flawless surface. Others argued with equal passion that Jungkook and Taehyung share an unbreakable bond, one that could withstand any storm. Yet the undeniable truth remained. Whatever happened after the live had already made history. But as the dust began to settle, another perspective emerged. Many analysts began pointing out the inconsistencies in eyewitness accounts. Recordings that allegedly captured raised voices were never verified. Clips circulated online were often edited, stripped of context, and replayed until ordinary expressions looked suspicious. The so-called evidence of conflict began to unravel. In reality, much of the story appeared to be built on exaggeration. Eyewitness accounts were fragmented and contradictory. Some claimed they saw tears, others swore they heard anger. Yet no solid proof emerged. Experts reminded the public that after long, demanding live sessions, it's natural for artists to withdraw quietly, exhausted and drained. The idea of a dramatic confrontation may have been less reality and more the product of fan imagination, amplified by the echo chamber of social media. And this is what makes the incident so striking. Not necessarily what Jungkook and Taehyung did, but how quickly a narrative of conflict took root and grew unstoppable. In the digital age, a single gesture replayed without context can become the foundation of an entire global drama. Fans' genuine concern, fueled by devotion, created a storm of speculation that overshadowed the truth. For Jungkook and Taehyung, the consequences were real. Even if nothing dramatic happened, they were forced to carry the burden of misinformation and curiosity that drowned out their artistry. Once again, it highlighted the razor-thin line between public image and private reality for global icons. In the end, the supposed explosive moment after the live remains more legend than fact. What initially appeared as a groundbreaking revelation does not hold under scrutiny. The sensational details, raised voices, emotional breakdowns, hidden conflicts, lack credible evidence. What remains is a powerful reminder of how stories can spiral in a digital world hungry for drama. Yet, even knowing this, one undeniable fact lingers. The mystery of that night has already cemented itself as one of the most unforgettable chapters in BTS history. Whether it was an unguarded human moment, a simple misinterpretation, or a masterpiece of fan speculation, it proved just how deeply connected ARMY is to every breath, every glance, and every silence of BTS. The truth may be far simpler, far less dramatic than the rumors suggest. But the emotional impact, the sleepless nights, the debates, the questions, will not be forgotten. Jungkook and Taehyung's actions, real or imagined, reminded the world that even the most iconic stars are still human, still vulnerable, and still living under a microscope that magnifies everything they do. And so, the world waits, for answers, for clarity, or perhaps simply for the next chapter. Because one thing is certain, this story, whether fact or fiction, has already left a mark that ARMY and the world will never erase.